This is for Algebra 1, Lesson 27A. And what you want to be doing here is you already know how to factor, and you're going to have to factor like crazy. But make sure that your equation is always set equal to 0. All right, so let's practice what we know. When it says find the factors, just factor this like always. Since this is 3 terms, and this first term is a 1, that coefficient, this should be easy to factor. Remember what you do is you have to find factors of negative 15 that add up to negative 2. Okay, so think about all these factors of 15. Okay, here's some. Since it has to be a negative 15, one of them has to be negative. Now, they need to add up to be a negative 2. Notice this adds up to negative 14. Can't be that one. This one adds up to a positive 2. Well, I want it to be a negative 2, so all you have to do is change the signs. Okay, so now notice that multiplies together to give you negative 15, but yet it adds to give you negative 2, so we need a positive 3 and a negative 5. So we're going to put that in here. X plus 3, x minus 5. And there you go. That is when it says find the factors, that is the factors of this equation. Now, when it says to find all the solutions, you're going to take each of these factors, there's 2 of them, and set it equal to 0, because that's what you want to do, is you want to find out what makes these 0. So take each factor, set it equal to 0, and solve. Notice if you subtract 3 from both sides, you're going to get x is negative 3. Here, if you add 5 to both sides, because the opposite of a minus 5 is plus 5, you get x equals 5. So you get 2 answers right there. Okay. Then it says check by substituting the solutions. Now, you can do both of these. Notice wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in. You have to do it twice. First, we're going to plug in negative 3. So let's plug that in everywhere we see an x. So notice it was negative 3 squared. So I'm going to plug that in. What does that say there? Minus 2 times the negative 3. What does it say? Minus 15. Okay, so that's what it means when it says check by substituting the solutions. Let's see what we get. This gives me 9 plus 6 minus 15. That gives me 15 minus 15, which is 0. So check, that works. Okay, you're going to do the same thing, but you would plug in 5 and plug it all in, make sure you get 0. Okay, let's do another one. This has 3 terms. It's already set equal to 0, and it wants us to factor this, find the factors. Well, notice they all have an x in common. So I'm going to factor out an x. So I'm going to do that first. Then we're going to factor the inside. Notice it's 3 terms. This first term is a 1. So it should be easy to do, because you know x times x gives me my x squared. Can you think of factors of 2 that add up to negative 3? Okay, well, it's going to be a negative 2 and a negative 1. Think about it. When you multiply these 2 together, you get a positive 2. And when you add them, okay, you get a negative 3. So notice now we have, there it says find the factors, so there it is. There's 3 factors, 1, 2, 3. When it says find the solutions, you're going to take each factor and set it equal to 0. So either x equals 0, that's a boring one, or x minus 2 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. So notice you're going to get x is 0. Here, add 2 to both sides, you're going to get x is 2. And here, if you add 1 to both sides, you're going to get x is 1. So notice you get 3 answers. Okay, check by substituting. I'm not going to take time to do all of them. Just pick one. Hey, let's try the 2. Everywhere you see an x, you're going to plug in 2. So it's going to be 2 to the 3rd minus 3 times 2 squared. Notice just everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 2. And so it's going to be plus 2 times 2. So that's going to give me, what, 8? Make sure you do exponents first. That's 4. And 4 times 3 is 12. So that gives me what? Negative 4 plus 4, which is indeed 0. So check. So I just did one of them. Technically, you would need to do all of them. Okay. Plug them in. Make sure you get 0. All right. Let's try this one right here. Again, this one only has 2 terms, but notice they both have an x in common, so I'm going to factor that out. Okay, now this has 2 terms, and I'm subtracting. Notice this is that special one. It's called the difference of squares. You should be getting good at that. You know, x times x gives me x squared. 1 times 1 gives me 1. But remember, your signs have to be different. That's the only reason why we don't have a middle term. It's because that middle term cancels. Okay, so there it is. We factored it out. when it says to find the solution, some of you guys can do this mentally, but notice there are 3 factors. 1, 2, 3. All of these are going to need to equal 0. So either x equals 0, or x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. And then just solve. So you're going to get either 0, -1, or a positive 1. Okay? Then yeah, you should check it. But let's go ahead and do this one. Now, this doesn't have anything in common, and this is definitely not a 1. My coefficient is a 2. So you're going to need to do what's called the AC method or the Lizzie method. Notice here you get a 6. So you want to find factors of 6. Okay, and I'm going to write them all down here. I need a factors of 6 that add up to a -7. Well, notice this adds up to 7, but I wanted to add up to a -7. So you're going to have to make them both negative. So again, notice that multiplies together to give you a +6, and it adds to give you a -7. So what you're going to do is take this first term, ignore your exponent just for a minute. You're going to take 2x over -1, and you're going to take 2x over -6. Now, if you can simplify it, do. I can't simplify this fraction at all, so it's just going to be 2x minus 1 in one set of parentheses. This one I can simplify because 2 will go into 2 once, and 2 will go into 6, 3 times? So notice I'm going to have a 1x minus 3. Okay, that right there would be your factors. Okay, when it says find the factors. Now, when it wants you to find the solutions, notice you have 2 factors. So I'm going to set them each equal to 0. And then just solve. Now, this one's a little weird, but don't forget, the opposite of subtracting 1 is adding 1. So you're going to get 2x equals 1. And then just divide both sides by 2. So you've got x equals 1/2. And hopefully you can kind of do that one in your head and see that x is going to be 3. Okay. Now, it says, this is the last one I'm going to do, check by substituting. Technically you need to do both. I'm only take time to do one. I'm going to pick the yucky one. Let's do 1/2. Okay, everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in 1/2. And if you hate fractions, then use your calculator. Wait a minute, that says minus, doesn't it? So I'm going to have to fix this right here. This is a minus sign. Sorry. And then it says, what, +3. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay, make sure you do exponents first, but 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. And realize this 7 is like 7 over 1, so you're going to get 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, this is going to give you 2 times 1 is 2, so you're going to have 2/4. Everybody hopefully realizes 2/4 is the same thing as what, 1/2. This right here, 1 minus 7, because they already have a common denominator, is what, a -6/2. -6/2 is what, a -3, which does indeed give me 0, so it works. Okay, so that's how you do it. Make sure when you do this first one on your homework that the very first thing you do, by the way, is move this 56 to the other side. Remember, it has to equal 0. Okay? And then this is a 1, so this should be easy, at least easier, because x times x is x squared. Find factors of -56 that add up to 1. And I'm thinking 8 times 7. I need it to be a positive 1, so I'm going to do 8 minus 7. So there's your factors. Okay, so when it says to find the solutions, set each factor equal to 0, and then just solve, and you should get -8 and 7. Okay, now on your homework, you only have to check 1. Is all I'm going to make you check. Okay, and that's how you do it.